Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, wherever you are on our amazing planet. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia.
Welcome to being here.
Yes. And what we're going to do today is talk about listening. Tricked you.
Well, it's both.
Right. We really need to talk about listening if you're going to discover your passion.
Because you can either be listening to your internal conversation, which cuts you off from experiencing your passion, or you can be listening.
That's right.
Have you ever been making love? I'm assuming all of you have been made
have,
love at least
I
once.
I have.
And you start thinking about something?
Of course.
Do you feel anything?
No.
Yeah. So
There goes your passion.
there it goes, whoop, out the window or up into your head.
No
So-
two things can occupy you at the same time. If you're thinking, you're not feeling. In any event, let's talk about listening.
Mhm.
Really, we all listen, or so we think. But I believe we think about what's being said rather than allow what's being said to pull us into the current moment of our lives by fully engaging without judging whether you agree or disagree or already know the information. So, true listening
Mhm.
is hearing what another person has to say from their point of view, but actually listening to it rather than seeing whether you agree with them or disagree with them. It's not exactly easy, in that your mind has been trained to disagree or agree rather than just listen.
I got an image. I was watching you, so because we're actually live here, and I know that the people that we have on as guests today are watching us via video, and know that our listeners are listening, so you don't have the visual component. But as Shia was talking about how when you truly listen, it pulls you into the moment, I actually saw him coming forward to embrace what's in front of him, actually seeing it. What happens lots of times when people quote, listen, end quote, our idea of listening, is we sit back in a passive stance and wait for the information to come to us. And then we pass it through the filter of our previous experience. And by then you're no longer listening.
That was brilliant what you just did and said, because that's exactly how it works. But when you really listen, you engage and you come into that listening as though you're creating it. It's your idea in the first place, rather than you have to endure what they're saying. And you know where they're going anyway, at least you think you do. So the game is to fully engage and discover the moment.
You say you bring you to the moment. You are not the conversation you have with yourself in the apparent privacy of your thoughts.
About the moment.
About the moment. That's a step removed. Now,
actually, it's several steps removed.
If you're several steps removed, there's nothing wrong with you. You are normal.
And that's where your starting point is.
And this is where we're building the skill set of listening. And as a byproduct, you experience your passion.
Or you discover your passion.
You do. In everything you are invested in this moment. Passion is not a...
Over time?
No, I was thinking discrete, like people go, I am passionate about horseback riding, photographing. I'm passionate about my partner. People think it's about a
discrete event.
Subset.
Yes, rather than your passion is everywhere.
Yes.
If you're engaged
and
in
nowhere
your life with
if
passion.
You're thinking.
That's right. Yeah. Well, people trick themselves into thinking they're passionate about their thoughts. You know, they can get involved at a political debate, dispute.
Well, that is true. You can get passionate about something you're being right about, but at the end of that and through that, generally, your true aliveness is not becoming expansive.
No, your anger and upset is.
Should we take our first
Let's
guest?
take our first guest.
All right. Tanya, welcome to being here. Kindly tell people where you are zooming in from.
Hi, this is Tanya. I'm zooming in from Oxford in England.
Welcome.
Thank you. Gosh, it's nice to be here with you guys. Good to
It's so
see
lovely
you.
to see you. You're such a beautiful person. I know that's hard to take.
And last time I believe we saw you, you were in Canada visiting your boyfriend Dave. So it's nice to see you in both locations.
Yeah, thanks. Gosh, and I love what you were just talking about different passions, because that was one of the things that I've been noticing recently, that I really had that idea that I could be passionate in one place, but it was not at the same time as being passionate elsewhere. And that I'd been kind of striving to regain some sense of passion in my work. But actually it came without me trying, or my trying stopped it coming.
Yes, because if you say that you don't have passion and you're trying to regain your passion, you've made the statement you're not passionate. And when you allow yourself to be, I was playing this morning with an eagle feather and my cat, baby. And I would drop the eagle feather and she would attack it.
Feathers don't just drop straight to the ground. By nature of how they're built, they tend to flip-flop, move around. And she went crazy for it.
Wow.
It was a passionate moment. Her passion for life is extraordinary, but then there's times she's not. But it was interesting because I could actually almost train her. I said, move on back, and she moved on back. And so she got up against this column that we have on our staircase, and she launches herself from there.
She likes to put her back feet on it, wiggle her behind and get ready and then go. It's like a starting block.
Right. And there's no thought involved in that for this cat. It's a passionate engagement in her life. I believe that it is possible to have a passionate engagement in whatever you're doing, if that's what you're doing. But if you're lost in your thoughts about how you would prefer your life to be showing up rather than the way it is, well, there's no passion.
And here's the thing, we've been trained to think passions are discrete units, like something you can hold in your hand. I'm passionate about, and then fill in the blank, about Shia, about chocolate, about the Being Here radio show, about. Rather than, we're speaking to you, you're wearing glasses. You put on your passion glasses, you see through your passion at whatever you turn your attention to, as opposed to only certain areas are you allowed to be passionate.
Well, you filter what you see. That's the interesting thing. We have been programmed or trained by the culture we grow up in to see only that which the culture sees. Anything else is not seen. It is dismissed as though it doesn't exist. For instance, when Columbus sailed to the New World, he sailed in clipper ships. The Indians did not have a concept, clipper ship. It didn't exist in their reality. So they didn't see ships. They saw wavy lines on the horizon, but they didn't know what they were. There was just vibrating lines out there. If you show an Aborigine a picture, they'll only see black and white dots, at least a black and white picture, because they don't have the concept photograph. So we can only see what we have been trained to see. We can only be passionate what we've been trained to be passionate about. I just saw something very wild in this moment.
Yeah.
I saw her staircase. That is not like a staircase in America. You notice that staircase?
Yeah.
Every other step is cut out. So it must be a very steep staircase. And this allows you to walk up a very steep staircase without it extending out into the room, eh?
Yeah. It's called a paddle staircase.
I've
And
never seen that
so,
before.
yeah,
That is
it's all cut
completely
out
new
of
to
wood.
me. That's like discovering something newly, because it was like, oh my, those are only half steps. Now, for our listeners,
They look like
Tanya-
little paddles.
right, Tanya is sitting, and behind her is a staircase. But as I look, every other step has a section cut out of it. And I've never seen anything like that before. It just caught my interest.
But that's a type of listening. You're listening and observing. You're seeing what is. And it's okay to be excited when you discover things you did not know.
Well, let's take that a step further. You ever watch a young child, 3, 4 years old, and they see a butterfly for the first time?
Yeah.
That's passion. There's enthusiasm, there's excitement, there's, what is this? Something new. For the most part, we do not approach our lives as though this moment is something new, something unique, something that's never happened before. Somehow we've been programmed or taught to see this as an extension of that, rather than this is a uniquely new moment in our lives. It's the beginning of the rest of our lives.
I'll tell you another passion killer. It's not something I'm seeing in you. And so in a certain respect, I'm reminded of it. It's one thing to observe another person, and it's another thing to observe that person and compare yourself and how you're doing to them. So sometimes people will come, say, to a Living Made Easy seminar, and they'll see you and Dave a few weeks ago sitting next to each other, enjoying each other's company. And then they don't just see you and Dave enjoying each other's company. They then ping back to themselves and start thinking about, oh, I wish I had, or someday I will, or my relationship is not doing so well, or I'm really happy I get to live with my relationship and I'm not only with them from time to time. It starts a conversation about how I'm doing, as opposed to being here and listening and seeing and observing.
Yeah. And I find myself doing that. I've definitely done that sort of more recently with work. Quite often I come across people that I worked with quite a number of years ago, and then we reconnect, and when we're catching up and I hear what they've been doing, I've definitely had moments of doing that and kind of going, oh, how does that compare to me?
Yes, what do you do with that? You find your life less and they're doing better.
Yeah, that's always, right?
Always. It's not like you're doing fine. It's like, I was on the river fishing a few nights ago, and there was a elderly gentleman there that I'm friendly with. And, you know, I'm 80 years old. He's in his early 60s, but he's elderly. You know, he's a grandfather, and that's the way he holds himself. And he said, Shia, I want to be you when I grow up. because he compares his
Nice.
life to how I lead my life. I
Mm.
can't do my life differently than I do, really, you see, and neither can you. If you look objectively, yes, hypothetically, you could have done things differently. But in reality, could you have done anything ever differently than you did it?
No.
No. In reality, if you look, you may say, oh, well, I could have. Well, not really, not given what you did. You know, it's a done deal. What you did, you did. Well, comparing your life to somebody else's is a disaster in the making.
Yeah.
Because your mind will always have you come up short, as if, oh, I should have lived on this southern Caribbean island, except when the hurricane came through.
Now, I know you're aware there are 3 principles of instantaneous transformation. And I want to talk about the third one in relation to you for a moment. The third one is anything you see objectively, non-judgmentally, anything you actually observe without judging completes itself in an instant.
Anything you allow to be the way it is without comment completes itself.
Now, for the listeners, it's obvious that you grew up in a different culture than Shia and I did. And if your ears tuned a little bit, you can hear that Shia and I grew up in different parts of the United States because we form our words differently. So are you following me so far, Tanya?
Yes. Yeah.
One of the things that came along with your cultural download is not only how you form words, but how you form your idea about work. When this plays back, because we're recording it, I would love it if you tune in and listen to Tanya. She's talking. You're not talking. I'm not suggesting you talk too much, but words, work. Words, work.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a failure of Tanya. This is a cultural download that holds work in a certain parameter.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that, it doesn't matter what you do, how well you do, how far you progress, it'll always be
Work.
Work.
Work. Right.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not like what you're doing isn't an exciting adventure, but if you hold it as a have to, a negative,
Mm.
oh my.
You know, it's interesting. I know that you have a garden
Yes.
where you grow vegetables. What do you call that there? It's an allotment, is that it?
Community garden?
Yes, we call it an allotment, which is a sort of a set piece of land that you rent out.
And it's near other people who have plots or allotments, and
Yes.
you farm your piece.
Yes.
You don't think of that as yard work.
No.
When it's interesting how when I've seen you post things, I am not much on social media, but I've seen you post things or talk about what you've harvested. For some people, that is work. For you, it is a passion.
Yeah.
It's just a twist of how you, because that is like a privilege to be able to get an allotment. Not everybody can get one.
Yeah. That is true as well. Yeah, oh gosh, I can just see that kind of heaviness that I have around the word work when I'm talking about my work, but I have felt recently lighter about it. I felt a lightness
Well, that's
in my
not entirely surprising. Your work has allowed you to use us as coaches so that you are more effective at work.
And you've been
Yeah.
infusing a transformational perspective into the workplace, which has been separate from everything else you do.
You see, you take you into every aspect of your life. And if you hold work as a negative, something you have to do in order to stay alive, well, then it won't be very satisfying. But if you take work as a similar experience to working in your allotted plot of land,
Or expressing your passion for growing things.
Yeah. Lovely.
yes.
Excellent. Really a
Thank
treat to be with you
you.
today. You are so welcome. Alrighty then. Drum roll, please. You sound like our cat. It's time for our listener feedback spotlight while Shai is here purring with me. We get to hear from one of our listeners.
About how transformation has impacted their lives. And if you'd like to learn more or register for any of our upcoming courses, visit transformationmadeeasy.com.
Yeah.
And when I say easy, it's like the fire swamp.
Yeah, join us.
If you know your way through it, it's easy. If you have a good guide, it's easy. If you don't, well, there's rodents of unusual size. There's lightning sand.
all those.
Thing?
I don't remember.
Oh, and the fire spurts.
There
Right.
you go.
There you go.
We're great
Transformation made easy.
guides.
Here's Christian from Munich. Like listening to the Kane's podcast, attending a seminar weekend, it's always afterwards I feel so light, rejuvenated, and just like light, like air or like a cloud, and have the feeling like I can see the world with new eyes. It's just a treat. And I meet so many lovely people when I attend the seminar. It's magnificent. Thank you so much.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Aaron and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
This weekend is our Discover the Healer in You weekend seminar.
That's November 6th and 7th.
It seems to be in a time zone that works for most places around the world, and our friends from Australia pretend it's a night flight because it happens for them, so they end in the middle of the night. If you'd like to join us, you are still welcome. There's room for you. In December, the weekend seminar
Is the power of listening.
and Costa Rica is our annual, well, we didn't have it this year, but in general, annual adventure. Costa Rica 2022 is open. You can come for 1 week or 2. It's a residential course. The prerequisite is to have attended a weekend seminar with us virtually during this year, and also to be fully vaccinated.
Yes.
That way we can all sit and be with each other without concern of getting sick.
Contagiousness.
Contagion. If you'd like to know more about our seminars, feel free to go to transformationmadeeasy.com and find out more or register. Should we take our next guest?
Yes, we should.
All right.
Marita.
Where are you zooming in from today? And welcome.
Hi, Ariel and Shaya. I'm zooming in quite far away from a small town close to Hamburg in Germany.
What's the town's name?
Itzehoe.
Say it one more time for us.
Itzehoe.
Itzehoe?
Yeah.
I love learning new, unfamiliar
Yes.
names of
movement.
towns, and yeah, it's a welcome.
I'm very happy to be here with you.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
And my question is, how can I keep listening and being connected to my passion when feelings like fear and sadness are touching me?
Well, you've obviously got your passion, you're holding it in a certain light, like fear or isn't part of passion.
And sadness
Or sadness.
is distinctly separate from passion.
Right. So you have an idea of what passion looks like. And I would suggest that you bring your passion to whatever you're experiencing. So passion is a state of being, not an objective thing or event. So you can be passionate. In Costa Rica, for many years, we've done a zip line through the jungle canopy. And it's very exciting. But it also has, for some people, fear of height because you have to climb up, get high up in the canopy. You're strapped in, so of course you're safe. But your mind doesn't know you're safe. When you get to the edge of that platform, there can be fear there. It doesn't mean you can't be passionate about the experience.
Yeah, I can follow this. This is true. But I think about if something like, if destiny hits you in a way. So in my case, my son is seriously sick, and I can't do so much about it at the moment, and it's not very easy for me.
I understand this, but you see, your mind is a machine. It's a survival machine.
Yeah.
And it wants you and your son to survive forever. And it figures the worst possible scenarios in the future to try to survive. So you're not being passionate with your son while you're with him. You're worrying about a future that has not arrived yet.
And chances are, because you came to the seminar, we were talking about it. I don't believe you were at that one. You were off passionately fishing.
Yes.
It toggles back and forth between, I wish he would have listened to me so he didn't get sick. I wish he would have taken my advice. And it toggles over to what will happen in the future. Will he get sick or will he die? Will he have long-term effects?
What is this? Is it COVID related?
No, it's not COVID.
Okay. So there's not it still works. There's not a being here right now in the discomfort potentially of the unknown.
It's your thoughts can generate feelings of distress. So if you think about a possible negative outcome, you will disturb yourself.
You'll generate fear and sadness through your thought process.
But yeah, and my question is, how can I manage? I've been to the hospital just before the session started, and it's quite serious because he has a how can I say that, psychosis, which is caused through cannabis, and it's exactly like you just described. I told him this in advance and he didn't listen, and this is now the consequence of it. And he's
Well,
18, so
okay.
he's responsible for himself
So
now.
wait a second, my dear. See, you need to forgive yourself and your son because you are still having this conversation. Mine repeats itself. So your conversation goes over and over again. He should have listened to me.
Or I should have found a way to be more forceful in my.
Right, but that conversation keeps on replaying. But you could have only done what you did. You could have only said what you said, and he could have only done what he did and said what he said. So punishing yourself or him for the past
Will not change now, except for compound it into an uncomfortable place. We talked about, I believe, the third principle with Tanya.
we did.
We got the first and the second.
First
Second, life,
principle, anything you resist persists. Well, you are resisting your son's condition. You wish it wasn't this way.
understandably, of course.
Understandably, but your resistance to it keeps it playing on your screen. You know, your computer screen, your way you're seeing life is about this set of circumstances, wishing they should, could, would be different than they are. But they are exactly the way they are. So that's the first principle. What you resist persists, and that's all you think about. The second principle is life shows up exactly as it does in each moment. Your life is showing up with a son who has a psychosis created by cannabis. That's the facts of it. What you could have or should have done does not change that in any way.
I have a question. You keep looking down. Are you taking notes?
No, it's true. I put down one word, resists.
Yes, you did take notes.
You see, that's the
I
thing.
love it. So
But
you're not listening.
You're not listening. You're working out the future. You're working to be better in the future rather than realize, Marita, your life is happening in this moment of now. This is all of it. What's going on in this moment is what is happening in your life. Your future, we shall see what happens in the future. But if you bring your past into this moment, which is what you're doing in trying to figure out the future and have it turn out the way you'd want, is you will bring your past with you and you'll never create a new moment.
And thank you, by the way, because there's one aspect to listening we haven't talked about for a while. There are different things that inhibit listening. Like if you have to pee, for instance, you may be trying to listen, but there's some part of you that's preoccupied with the sensation in your body. So preoccupation with something inhibits your ability to fully be here and listen. And one of the things that
An agenda
is the agenda that you have. You have the agenda to get your son well, to fix the
situation.
issue.
Do you know the word agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I fully understand what you're saying.
Good, because your agenda, your plan, your idea of how it ought to be is getting in the way of your being here now. And what you need to discover is how to be where you are rather than try to have the future turn out the way you prefer.
And what's interesting about it, it's one of those paradoxes.
It's a delicate balance.
The more you manipulate it to get it to turn out the way you want, the less likely you are to have it turn out the way you want. And the more you allow it to be the way it is, the more it's likely
to resolve itself. But you...
Yeah, I'm just laughing because, yeah, it's exactly what you just said, what I took out of former sessions, and I can see how difficult I deal with it. So how much difficulty I have exactly now with letting it go. I mean, to accept like just what you'd said, to accept that it is like it is. And yes, it's true. I would like to just solve it, to do
Well,
something.
We've been watching a television program where somebody goes back to the past and changes something, and now the present moment is completely changed, because what you've done in the past cannot be changed.
True.
And so you can waste this moment of your life contemplating what you could have, should have, would have done, but it won't change the circumstance. But if you allow the circumstance, and it's a little paradoxical, but if you allow the circumstances to be what they are, they may right themselves. But the more you interfere with it to try to get it the way you want, the more it keeps it out of balance. See,
Yeah.
your son's life is out of balance right now. And to the degree that you try to get him better is to the degree that he will stay out of balance in opposition to your wanting from him. You notice he does resist you.
He's a kid.
It is, yeah, it is really difficult for me to keep, to give up to give up control.
Yes.
And my issue is that I would like to control the situation, to feel better myself, which
I don't
is
believe
exactly the opposite I should
it's
do.
not only control, my friend. You also have an investment in being right. I could tell by how, and maybe I don't know your son. I don't know the type of cannabis he was smoking or ingesting. And I don't know his health nor his mental makeup. But when you said it's psychosis from cannabis, could be absolutely true. But I do know that a lot of people have ingested or smoked massive amounts of cannabis, and it has not resulted in psychosis.
Yeah.
And from what you're saying, your son is in the hospital, and that is the case with him. But you could be right that, see, I told you this is where it was going to lead to. Or you can meet, here we are, now what?
See, my dear, you want it to turn out for the best, and I do too. But it's turned out. See, it's already complete the way it is. Now you want to fix it for the future.
I can't.
I know you can't. You know you can't, but that doesn't mean you don't want to.
That's true. It's true.
It's a little bit like the book is already written and you don't like this piece, so you keep staying on this page, and then this page is always embattled.
Because you don't move on to the next moment.
Yeah, that's true.
So Marita, it starts with this: being kind to yourself. It starts by being kind to yourself. And I know you don't want to, because you have the idea you need to punish yourself for the way things have turned out.
If I was a better mother, if I was a better
So your need to punish yourself keeps the situation intact rather than let it complete itself. Being kind to yourself and forgiving yourself for anything you did or didn't do will do more to heal your son than anything you think of to do. Your being kind to yourself will allow him to be kind to himself.
As we realize, getting ready to Discover the Healer in You seminar, the theme of healing and being a healer has been up in our lives. And I see how when I'm feeling well in myself and I walk into a room, that way of being impacts everyone around me. If I'm being hard on myself, it's a whole other story. And I really see it on I had an injury at some point, and I started going to see an acupuncturist for it. And I can see the difference on the days when I walk in and the receptionist is being hard on herself from the ambiance in the office when I walk in and she's having a quote good day.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. Whew.
And here's the other thing. Being kind to yourself is not very German.
This is absolutely true.
Yeah, I know it's not part of the culture. So I know
No.
I'm speaking.
No, we don't. I mean, we even don't have a really nice translation for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I'm asking you to make a huge leap of faith in a way, but if you're nice with you, if you don't beat on you, your son won't have to beat on himself. And that's what's keeping him stuck in this quote psychosis. I'm not big on psychological stuff, you know. I believe he's upset and that his use in cannabis may have exacerbated an already ongoing upset. But the way out of an upset is to allow yourself to feel without punishing yourself for what you're feeling.
Which, by the way, goes back to your original question about how do you experience passion or have passion when it's touched by fear and sadness. And immediately I got a picture of when my mother passed away. It was whilst she was elderly and had health issues. When it happened, it was unexpected at the time that it happened. And there was a deep well of sadness that arose for me in and around that time frame, triggered by the event of the loss of my mom. And yet I found that everything I did was so much more passionate. Moments with strangers at the airport when I was feeling deeply sad, and a lady came up to me and put her hand on my shoulder and said, I don't know what you're going through, but I hope it turns out well. It was like she was just this incredible gift from nowhere, and then she walked off. I have no idea where she came from, where she was going. I will never see her again. I don't remember what she looks like anymore, but her kindness was gives me goosebumps now. There is this possibility, if you allow yourself, Marita, to feel whatever you're feeling. It's the access way to your greatness, to your passion, to the moment, your ability to listen. Everybody has challenges in their lives, including the bird that just ran into the window. That was a challenging moment.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Really.
Thank you. That was really, very helpful for me. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And just remember, you're a lovely lady because I say so when you're not saying so. I can see you, you see, and I can see that you're a lovely person, and you just need to be nice to you. You be nice to you, your son will transform. I'll give you that carrot. If you're being kind to yourself, he will get better much quicker. And if you are pulling your hair out and beating your chest.
Okay. Thank you.
I also want to thank you, Marita, for coming and being on this podcast today and being so honest and forthright with what's happening in your life. It's such a gift for other people. It's really generous of you. And I also want to suggest to you that when it works for you or you have the inclination, come to the Living Made Easy seminars. We have them on Saturdays. They're bilingual, which clearly you don't need the German translation because we're having such a lovely conversation. But Tuesday evenings, there are weekends. I noticed for myself after we did the simplicity course and we were fully engaged with people, I found it so easy to handle tasks and be with people that I hadn't even thought about or considered over the weekend, because I'd gotten practiced at listening and engaging and following other people's lives rather than thinking about my own.
Mhm.
So just a personal invitation from us.
Thank you.
to you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yes, thank you very much.
If you would like to be a guest or submit a listener spotlight, you can go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. Next week's podcast is a theme that just moves along from what we were talking about today.
Listening is a gift.
Thanks for being with us today, and thanks for listening. Feel free to share this with folks. Feel free to join us in person. These Zoom videos are intimate, powerful, and you're invited. We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
Don't miss being here.